distilled metagame. Jund v Infect.
We've burned away in the crucible of the tournament. No, this is Infect is a modern standby. You can count on every modern tournament having an Infect deck. Kevin's gonna pile shuffle. Is he triple sleeved?
Maybe. I don't know.
Some
people get out of hand with these sleeves, but
I mean, Farrell is double sleeved for sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because his deck is fancy AF.
I mean, I would double sleeve any Jund deck.
You're right. The deck is expensive AF. Do you have my cards double sleeved?
Yeah.
All right, good. That was like 3 phones ago. So like, I went through a phone fiasco at the end of last year. So
everybody went through a phone fiasco at the end of last year.
Yeah.
I went through 3 phones. You went through 3 phones.
Right. So, do you still have the original one? The one you were trying to replace? Or did you turn it in?
Oh, no, I got turned in.
Okay. I still have mine.
Okay.
Because they didn't want it. It's so old. But look at how big Kevin Liao's deck is. It's like a full 1.5 taller than Farrell's.
Yeah, those are probably triple sleeves.
Oh man, what a beaut.
Yeah, I'm not big on the triple sleeving.
I feel like I should get into a side draft this weekend and be like, I'm just gonna sleeve real quick and start triple sleeving the deck. Just to try, and then just stop. Get 10 cards in before they said so, and stop actually doing that. I can't imagine holding the cards have to be huge at that point.
Yeah.
You have to put a 1/4 inch on each end.
I don't know. I just don't know.
What do you think of this matchup?
It's very draw dependent. There are some draws that Infect can get that are very hard to interact with, and there are some draws that Jund can get that just kind of tear apart an Infect hand.
Sure. So the discard's an important element.
It can be to know when the coast is clear. But you want a bolt. You generally want 2 removal spells, and then a discard spell is great, but all right, down to 5 for Farrell. This is a matchup where you're going 1 for 1 a lot, so going to 5 hurts. I don't know if he knows what he's playing against.
But we've said Modern is a format where Mulligan when in doubt.
Absolutely.
Raging Ravine tells you the whole story about Kevin. I can't think of a deck that...
Oh, not a good hand versus Infect. This Dark Confidant's very strong, but you need some way to interact.
All right.
If he draws a bolt here, he's very happy. Doesn't look like he does.
All right, so we're gonna get a Dark Confidant into play, but Kevin doesn't have an Infector on the board, so it makes a big difference.
Yeah, you get a turn. But when he does get the Infector on the board, he's gonna have so much
some protection for it.
And looking at his hand, he is loaded with protection.
Yeah, I think he's got Vines of the Vastwood.
He's got double Vines and a Blossoming Defense or Blooming Defense or whatever it is. I always mess that one up.
Okay. What we got for a Collis? Okay.
Yeah, Dismember is very important here.
Which member?
The one that hit Dark Confidant.
Dismember.
Ah, I see what you did there. It was very clever.
Mouse Repulse gonna earn a Vines.
Sure.
All right.
Just
so
land in hand for Farrell now. This is not a great
Kevin
situation to be in.
All right. Man, that's a lot. 3.
Yeah, 3 without any
and he
pump
leaves
spells.
up protection too. So.
Looks like Farrell has the Terminate. Showing a lot of patience by not just firing off the Terminate there.
All right.
Man, swing for 4 without spending a card is huge.
Right, but I feel like it's going to be very tempting for Kevin to go for it, and the coast is clear. Really, he only has Farrell only has 1 unknown card, and Kevin has 2 responses.
Right.
So he can go for. So he can go for the vines here and with the blossoming defense backup. Just vines it.
Oh no, he has a mutagenic growth.
All right.
Had it.
So at least Kevin had to spend 100% of the cards in his hand.
Yeah.
I mean, Farrell still lost the game, but
right.
by having to run Kevin out of cards, to get him to kill him, that it's got to feel good. It makes you feel like if you get a reasonable draw in these next 2 games, you got a fighting chance.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of key sideboard cards that come in here.
Knight of Souls Betrayal.
Knight of Souls Betrayal.
We've seen it in affinity matchups. It's got to be just as good here.
Oh, it just demolishes Infect.
I mean, it makes the game unwinnable, right? Because none of their guys have more than 1 toughness.
Sometimes they'll play some number of Viridian Corruptors.
Okay, so they can both target the knight and his 2 toughness.
I think Viridian Corruptor only hits artifacts.
All right.
But we can check that. But it survives the night, and that's what's important.
Oh, yeah, it definitely... Viridian Corruptor... Oh, it does only target artifacts.
Okay.
But yeah, it does survive the night. It can live through 1 night. And you're not allowed to have 2 nights in play.
You could play a Curse of...
Death's Hold?
Death's Hold.
But that's a curse. It's not a night.
That's true. But there could technically be 2 night effects. Anyway...
The Infect deck, you get Dispel.
Yeah, if you're all in on these blossoming defenses and vines, I don't know that you want Dispel. Like, maybe Negate. Probably Spell Pierce.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like most of Jun's best interaction is instant based.
Right.
So that makes me want Dispel, but I don't. Maybe they play Spell Pierce as a broader card since it's a sideboard card and you want to have more options.
Sure. Now for Jund, an interesting thing in this matchup in particular, the addition of Fatal Push in the next set.
Oh, yeah.
If Jund plays it, this is one of the matchups where it is very strong.
Yeah, so often people talk about decks that are only going to get better.
Right.
Like, for example...
The Birthing Pod deck.
Yeah, the Birthing Pod deck's a deck that's only going to get better.
That was the issue. That's why Birthing Pod had to go, is because every creature they printed had to be so heavily scrutinized under the lens of Birthing Pod that it just limited what they could print.
Right. An example that a deck's not going to get better, Grixis. I feel like that deck is like pretty set in stone.
It could get better. It may have gotten better.
What card? Okay, so Colgan's Command was like the last card to get printed that really pushed that deck forward.
Right.
What card would you say?
I mean, it might play this Fatal Push.
I just feel like Jund is always going to get better.
Yeah, Jund. So if you play a broader deck, like if you play something with less synergy and more just raw power level,
yeah,
it will always get better because they will always print like some card that can obsolete another card and make something else better.
Right.
But if you play a very narrow deck, like they're never going to print Infect creatures again.
Sure.
Just not going to happen. So this Infect deck could get better as pump spells come out that make it better, but it doesn't grow at the same rate that something like Jund does, where you get better removal spells, or you get better creatures, or you get better mana base.
Sure.
Yeah, Fatal Push is sweet against Jund, too. Hits all their dudes.
Right. I wonder.
And Raging Ravine, which is the operative one.
Whoa, that's a big one. Do you think now Tassiger made a Jund appearance when it first came out? Do you think that's a card that's going to rise again if Fatal Push rises again?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think so Jund doesn't really have any problem with their creatures dying in like 1-for-1 removal spell ways.
Okay.
Because they're going to get to their top game or their top deck, and they're just going to be much stronger. But the Jund mirror match is another reason why, like, Fatal Push might push Lightning Bolt out of the deck, or at least have you shave a bolt or two. Right.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. If you're telling me that this card's going to replace a Lightning Bolt?
I think so. So I think it depends a lot on your metagame.
Okay.
But Lightning Bolt stock is way down right now.
Which is unfortunate. My favorite deck is a heater against Lightning Bolts.
And that's part of the reason why it's down. So, like, Lightning Bolt doesn't interact favorably with Dredge, Bant Eldrazi.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bigger threats right now that it just doesn't deal with reliably. Like, the entire Infect deck, it's nice to have a Bolt to, like, force the issue.
Uh-huh.
But it gets outclassed by almost every pump spell that they play.
Sure.
So I think it really depends on if you're considering your metagame to be one that is better without Lightning Bolt or better without Abrupt Decay.
Alright. So Kevin is taking care of Farrell's one threat in Tarmogoyf. He spent a bunch of life dismembering it.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're on a kind of land go, looking at Farrell's 2 removal. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, at first glance, Liliana doesn't look like she's very good in the Infect matchup.
No, this card's very good in this matchup.
But this card is insane. They need to have, like, a certain number of spells in hand to be able to kill you quickly and through removal. And Liliana not only pressures you to go off sooner because you're losing a card every turn, it also protects you because you can at any time -2 pop a dude.
Yeah, get one of their... I mean, the Infect deck doesn't have that many guys in it. It's like 12.
Right.
The card Kevin needs to draw here is Inkmoth Nexus.
Yeah, Inkmoth Nexus is very strong. Good against Liliana. Doesn't get Abrupt Decayed. Does get Fatal Pushed. To go back to what we were talking about.
Sure, you've come full circle.
If I'm Farrell here, I'd probably discard this Abrupt Decay, but I didn't know the card he was discarding was an Ancient Grudge, so that's perfectly fine.
Here's the thing. When you're in this situation, you're Farrell, you know that the only card that beats you is Inkmoth Nexus.
Right.
So I keep the Ancient Grudge to get as many shots at it as I can.
Yeah, so I mean, he gets a lot of shots at it right now, which is fine.
Okay. Alright. Raging Ravine's going to pick up a counter.
And there it is. Inkmoth Nexus is very good here.
So this kind of turns off Raging Ravine because now he can't risk Kevin coming over the top of him for all 10 damage at once. Because all it takes is a Become Immense with a little bit of protection. Wow.
This card also pretty strong here.
This is insane.
So now Kevin can't activate Inkmoth Nexus here because it can just get blocked And I mean, you're fine if he was just like stalling for a turn. That's great, but it's eating a discard spell with an active Liliana on the board. Kitchen Finks comes down. That's one I don't see out of the Infect deck hardly at all.
Interesting.
How do you feel about that?
It's really good here. Here's
Inquisition.
The Inquisition Kozilek. He's 2 Might of Old Krosa and a Blossoming Defense. And he's going to wisely take the Blossoming Defense as it opens up any removal spell he has in hand and future removal spells.
So he's debating whether he wants to pitch this Terminate right now, which I think is the right call. So you can shoot the Terminate off at the Kitchen Finks.
It persists, and then you
but you
Olivia
can
the
just
Kitchen
plus
Finks.
the Liliana. Oh, he's alting.
Alright. So he's making him choose between the creatures and the lands. Creatures including Inkmoth Nexus. Just creature enough.
It is creature enough.
I think if you're Kevin, you gotta keep the lands.
All right. So a nice 2-turn clock here for Mike. Kevin without a creature. Just going to scoop him up. That's it.
Yep. Man, that Jund deck dominated every step of the way there.
Absolutely. And that's what it can do when you line up well against what the hand that Kevin drew. So you notice that Kevin didn't have a turn 1 Glistener Elf. He didn't have a turn 2 Blighted Agent.
Right.
There was no early pressure, and so Jund was just free to set up shop and go to town.
Right.
That's why these cards like Kitchen Finks and Dismember, like they can pull off some big plays and they can do some important things, but they're taking away from your general strategy. And without that clock, the Infect deck is not going to win a game.
Interesting. Yeah. The other card I didn't see was Become Immense. I mean, I don't know if there was a window there where he had Inkmoth Nexus and Become Immense, but that's one that I think you need to come out of nowhere to win some games.
Yeah, Might of Old Krosa helps. I mean, that does give you a significant amount of power and toughness. But absolutely, it's the Become Immense that really gets you there.
All right. Is Kevin is he sleeving his deck again? Is it
Putting
no,
a
just
4th set of sleeves in here.
Kevin's now going to put each card in an individual sandwich bag.
I mean, he'd almost have to get another layer on these bad boys.
Farrell's ready to rock and roll.
So what's the thought behind Penny Sleeve, or behind the 3rd sleeve?
So, Tom Lapilli was teaching me about this because he triple sleeved his cube. But we're talking like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, where'd you get these sleeves? And he said they come from Japan. And in Japan, as prizes at tournaments, they give out specialized sleeves.
Right.
Much like the Modern Master or the Modern Event deck, the black-white one has this special sleeves in it.
Oh, it does? I've never seen these.
Oh, you haven't? Yeah, there's special sleeves that come in the box. They might also come in the Plane Chase or the Anthologies box. They're like the foily ones with the Planeswalker symbol on the back.
Okay.
But in Japan, there's like companies will make special sleeves they're like top 8 mat almost.
Oh,
and so they make a set of sleeves to go over that, so you can play with your special sleeves without ruining them.
Okay, that's interesting.
So
do you think Kevin's sleeves are special sleeves? Do you think those are commemorative?
No, they just look black to me.
Okay.
He just looks like he has a set of black sleeves on under his.
All right. So not commemorative.
They could commemorate something, but like.
I mean, maybe they have sentimental value.
Correct. Maybe his mother gave him those sleeves. as he went off to college. She said, "This is all you're gonna need." Good
Go
luck.
pay for your college
Good luck.
with these sleeves.
But yeah, I think I used to double sleeve. Now I used to use an inner sleeve on some of my modern decks.
Sure.
Particularly my Affinity one, I think still has inner sleeves on it. Because I've owned the cards for so long, that like a lot of them are like soft from being shuffled and being handled.
Right.
So that adds like a layer of toughness, like a thickness to this
Toughness. Yeah.
to the card.
+0/+1.
So I don't like, there's no less spider webbing and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I understand. So land go for Kevin. Mike looks like he's gonna have a turn 1 play.
And that can only mean a discard spell, right? There's no turn 1 creatures in the Jund deck.
Absolutely, and that's a pretty big deal. I think Kevin sees the writing on the wall too as he gets his hand ready for inspection. We got an interesting comment in chat. Taylor Gunn is a douche, and I remember what he did to that new Boggles player.
Did somebody really say that?
Yeah.
What's that person's name?
I don't know. I can't read it. It's like lime green. I can't see it from this angle. Pithing Needle was the turn 1 play, not a discard spell.
What I did to the new bot when I was playing Eldrazi,
I don't know, man.
and he didn't announce his replacement effects correctly. I was probably uncalled for there.
I don't know. I don't know the situation, but
What is this Pithing Needle?
yeah, Pithing Needle. What is Pithing Needle naming? Ichabod Nexus. Perfect. But apparently you're a douche, according to this person in chat.
Does Farrell not have enough sideboard cards here? Is that what you think this Pithing Needle's about?
No, I mean it's a way to beat Ichabod Nexus.
I mean, Ichabod Nexus
proactively.
is the best card against you.
Yeah. And I mean, there are some draws that Infect has that Knight of Souls Betrayal just is too slow to beat. Like sometimes you're dead by the time you get 4 mana, especially on the draw.
Alright, is this a Cinder Glade or a Blood Crypt or?
Could be anything, but that is definitely a Tarmogoyf.
Is it a Stomping Grounds? I love the idea of the expeditions, but I want them to do.
So I see Stomping Ground and Blood Crypt.
Okay, I just want them to do a much better job of showing me what it is.
Yeah, I mean they have a name at the top of them, which helps to tell you.
Too bad you can't read a name when it's on camera.
I can read both of those names.
Are you being serious?
Dead serious.
All right, I can't read either. I can't read anything.
I can't read it right.
I'm actually illiterate. No, I'm not illiterate, and illiteracy is
Tarmogoyf is a 3/4. It's a biggin.
a problem. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help.
All right. So this is just a land that can make some mana.
That is an unblockable Infect creature.
A Blighted Agent.
So Farrell missed a land drop, so you got to assume his hand is chock full of removal. Looks like he has a bolt. He's probably debating on whether or not to fire this off now or wait. Doing it on his turn is important because any pump is rendered useless.
Oh god, just lets it go.
Goyf's still a 3/4. The person from before has amended his previous statement saying that you are now an illiterate douche, not just a regular douche.
I am completely literate. I do, however, have an eye condition that prevents me from seeing
magic
things as well as most people can.
I concur. So let's not make fun of people's disabilities, if at all possible.
I wouldn't call it a full-blown disability, but I'm certainly medically hampered.
Okay. Much worse than being medically pampered.
That's a very specific fetish. right, so Kevin's gonna run out this second blighted agent. It's gonna catch a second lightning bolt.
So now Kevin's hand is pump spell and natural state. Or not natural state. That one, Nature's Claim.
Nature's Claim there.
And now Kevin is hellbent. We have a 5/6 Tarmogoyf.
Man.
And I don't know what's in Farrell's hand, but I don't know that it's going to matter.
Alright, so Kevin goes and gets Dryad Arbor and blocks.
Yeah, Dryad Arbor for the chumps.
So he's trying to buy himself some time here. I think if he can get Farrell to... Alright. Inkmoth Nexus. Oh, man.
So he's setting up for a big turn.
Glistener Elf, Inkmoth Nexus active. Glistener Elf down.
Alright, so Mike, or Kevin has one turn.
He has any cards he can draw. I can't even think of like a sequence of draws that gets him out of this. I think maybe...
Pendelhaven's not going to cut it.
Yep. And then the Tarmogoyf's at 5, and that's the game.
The game.
Interesting. Yeah, Jund really dismantled that Infect deck.
Yeah, there are definitely times when that matchup feels completely unlosable as Jund, but then they get that one draw, and you're just like, I could not beat that draw in a million years.
Right.
So it happens. It's very draw dependent. I think Kevin's Infect deck is worse than average against Jund because it plays so many like random spells like Dismember and Kitchen Finks and stuff like that.
You want a more streamlined version?
Yeah.
Alright, so check back in with us next week for more hot modern action. Maybe we'll...
Hot modern action. We'll also be here tomorrow for some standard action.
Oh, man. Some spoilers?
Yeah, we're going to talk about some spoilers for standard and see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll talk about more than just this fatal blow or fatal push.
Fatal push we talked about. We also talked about your
Whir of Invention.
Yeah, Whir of Invention. Whir of Invention.
Whir